All right, howdy. My name is Alexander Halliburton, and this is my partner.
Hey, Nichols.
And we're going to be having a debate over who has the biggest pest of a termite. Mine personally is the eastern subterranean termite.
And I'll be debating for the Forceman subterranean termite.
And basically, we're both going to have an intro for about 3 minutes over basic knowledge of our respective termites. And then we'll have a rebuttal on each side for a minute, stating our counter arguments. And then we'll each have a turn to counter each other's rebuttal. And that'll be pretty much it. And my buddy will get started with the initial one.
All right. Formosan termites are a serious timber pest in Hawaii and the coastal regions of Texas, Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, and Southern California, as well as inland towns and cities. The Forceman subterranean termite is often nicknamed a super termite because of its destructive habits. This is because of the large size of its colonies and the termite's ability to consume wood at a rapid rate. In New Orleans, 30 to 50% of the city's 4,000 historic live oak trees are believed to be infected, with total damage costing the city approximately $300 million per year. In North America, Coptoramus forceranus creates significantly bigger colonies and therefore more damage than native U.S. termites, which reside underground and into buildings only to forage. The Forceman subterranean termite, Coptoramus forceranus, is the most destructive, difficult to control, and economically important species of termite in the southern United States. Impacts of increased use of pesticides to control the termite population has led to higher costs for homeowners and destructive effects on the environment, including contamination of water supplies caused by runoff. Forceman termites constantly search out for new food sources. They are known to enter through buildings, through cracks in the concrete flooring, or to travel under tile flooring through gaps less than 1/16 inches wide. The space between the foundation and the first mortar joint is often enough space for termites to enter a home. Coptoramus forceranus is the most economically serious pest in Hawaii, costing residents approximately $100 million per year. Historic structures in Hawaii have been threatened, such as the Ailani Palace in Honolulu. Coptoramus forceranus has its greatest impact in North America, however. Coptoramus forceranus is currently one of the most destructive pests in the USA. It is estimated to cost consumers over $1 billion annually for preventive and remedial treatment and to repair caused by the insect. They often cause power failures by chewing through electrical cabling. A termite truly to be feared. It is known to cause major structural damage to timber, to homes, buildings within just a few months. It can develop huge nests containing millions of termites aggressively and relentlessly seeking and devouring structural timbers, utility poles, and other timber structures, including ships and barges. Infestation can occur to living trees such as oak, cypress, pine, and maple. A single colony may contain several million individuals compared to the several 100,000 termites for other subterranean termite species that forage up to 300 feet in soil. A mature Forceman colony can consume as much as 13 ounces of wood per day and can severely damage a structure in as little as 3 months. Because of its population size and foraging range, the presence of colony poses serious threats to nearby structures. Once established, Forceman subterranean termites have never been eradicated from an area.
That's time. All right, and then I'll go into my argument for my case. And let me just start that timer real quick. All right. The eastern subterranean termite is the most commonly and widely distributed termite in the United States. The pest is found from Utah to New York and inhabits every single state in between. This pest is the most destructive to common building materials such as Douglas fir, pine, maple, the most common of building materials. Now, the pest burrows channels into the wood as the eastern subterranean termite feeds off of the cellulose found. Decent. Okay. It's fine. I'll just edit it. Decent. And doing a project. In the middle of a project I'm recording. Need you to leave. Sorry. Please go. I'll just start from the top, and then I'll edit that part out. All right, we actually got interrupted for a second because we're both in the core, and people kind of come in for a second. So I'm actually redoing my portion and starting from the top. The eastern subterranean termite is the most common and widely distributed termite in the United States. The pest is found from Utah to New York and inhabits every state in between. The pest is the most destructive to common building materials such as Douglas fir, pine, and maple, the most common of building materials. And the pest burrows channels into the wood as the eastern subterranean termite feeds off the cellulose found on the cell plant's wall. Now, or the plant cell's wall. These tubes cause the structure to lose its ability to support weight, as with the hollowed out structures, they're essentially rotting from the inside. Now, they then build colonies that can eventually inhabit entire apartment complexes through one or multiple common colonies. And each of these colonies can hold up to 30,000 to 65,000 individuals by its peak before swarming, which is essentially where they all gain wings and go to a new location. These pests can inhabit a household for months before showing signs of themselves, and by that time, there can be major structural damage caused to the household. The next characteristic that makes these pests particularly tricky is that when someone sees the key signs of the colony, their natural instinct is to investigate further to see if their hunch is true and what kind of damage has been done, as one is prone to do. However, when the eastern subterranean termite feels disturbed by the presence of a possible predator, they abandon their current position or a location that is even more secluded in the building through the use of drop tubes. Now, these tubes are a method of transportation that takes the termites straight down far enough that they can thrive without a threat. This simple act has actually fooled off many individuals into believing that their pest problem has been relieved and that the destruction was in the past. However, this inevitably leads to even further damage as multiple colonies are still thriving. Now, what makes this pest truly superior is the neighboring effect. Now, because there's such a large expanse of land from Utah to New York, Texas, all the way to Canada, the insect is so compatible with a large range that whenever people try to remove these insects, it's only creating massive areas of unclaimed land for new swarms to come in and then claim, which has led to massive efforts leading into very unfortunate circumstances. And I have about 10 seconds left, so I'm just going to stop there. All right. And then my buddy will have his rebuttal.
All right, first rebuttal. While the eastern subterranean termite does indeed cause a lot of damage to households with large colonies, the enforcement can create colonies containing millions of termites, opposed to the hundreds of thousands for the subterranean termite. And while a single individual enforcement does not consume more wood than a single eastern subterranean termite, a colony can cause more structural damage in shorter time due to its size and aggressive foraging behavior of a colony of enforcement termites. Single colonies can do this better than any other subterranean termite species and causes significant structural damage to a home within just a short 6-month period.
All right. And then I'll have my minute of rebuttal. All right. Now, it may be true that the Formosan termite does take less time to cause significant damage. However, the eastern subterranean termite makes up for that fact for its sheer quantity, not only in the number of individuals, but in the amount that each can eat through wood. And the households being filled with possibly more than one colony of the damage becomes each individual case more severe. Now, although it does take longer for the subterranean termite to cause major damage, that also means that their presence as a pest is not as easily seen, and therefore the colonies can then grow even bigger into a harder to deal with threat and more colonies to eventually try to exterminate. All right. And then now I'll have my minute of rebuttal for his argument. Okay. Now, I agree that the formicine termites are major pests. However, the formicine termite is limited to the coastal regions of the United States. There is a limited amount of space in which the formicine termites can then actually advance and damage. It is easier to prepare for these pests then because if people are currently aware of the situations, then they're aware of certain danger areas in which they need to be more selective and be able to be more prepared. Now, this cannot be said for the eastern subterranean termite, whose land covers more than half of the United States, and therefore there's no problem area that can then have special preparation. Therefore, people can be completely blindsided with an absolute swarm of termites that are then taking up their cities and households. All right. And then my partner will have his last minute of rebuttal.
All right. Wildly formicine termite are only located on the coastal regions of the United States due to their eggs not being able to hatch under 68 degrees Fahrenheit. They still cause a great deal of economic damage in those specific areas. As stated before, the formicine costs Hawaii residents approximately $100 million a year, and it costs New Orleans approximately $300 million per year. It costs consumers in these southern coastal regions altogether approximately $1 billion per year due to damage caused by the insect. As populations grow, economic loss caused by this termite species in these more recently established areas will approach the pest status experienced in New Orleans and Hawaii. Again, showing how the formicine termite is the most destructive, difficult to control, and economically important species of termite in the southern United States.
All right. That pretty much concludes our debate, and it'll be a little bit biased if one of us was to say that we won, so we'll just leave it up to y'all. Thank you very much, and Yiggum.